Hello, my name is Khalid Salim, and this is Module 5, Assignment number 1. So, I'm going to talk to you about my observations. And unit planning has been, this unit has been greatly helpful. So I observed 3 different lessons, and Stacy Thompson, I observed her lesson as she taught journal writing to the students. Journal writing came in the unit where we are in place and time, and in the journal writing, students had to make a journal as if they were an explorer. So this is a very interesting unit, just because in that class, this is 3rd grade, the students had to know what a journal writing was. And so what Stacy did was write the objective on the board. And when you write the objective on board, it was something similar we did earlier on in the units where it's swab it, where it's really just referring back to the objective on the board. What are we learning today? That was her prompt. That was written on the board, and then she wrote after it what we were learning for the day. So this was important just because every time she spoke about the importance of journal writing, she went back to what are we learning today, guys, and these were the objectives for the day. And in that, she put examples on the board. So she had a mentor text already written up before the lesson started on the board with the highlighted some of the key words within that journal piece. And she had that, and then they constructed a quick journal piece together. To scaffold, she had a handout for the students where the students were allowed to allowed to see what the journal was asking for within that first journal piece. So they were scaffolded, and it was for everybody. It was just for we had in that class that was over. They had a lot of high needs, and they had a range. And so in that class alone, she allowed everybody to go through the same scaffolding. Things that made it effective. She had peer shares. Where the kids didn't feel alone, so even if they didn't know, they had peer share where they could go in, see other work, they talk to each other. She had gallery walks where they were allowed to see other journals and go around in that class. Also, movement from table to table. That's where I think it was really helpful for the collaborative nature of the class. In reflection of the unit planning for that, speaking with Stacy, it was just very important that they knew where they were going beforehand. So this wasn't off the cuff. There was detailed planning to go which journal pieces were going to come first. Journal 1, the exploration, what do I need, a materials list. So they had it carefully planned out, but it was a step to get to that journal writing process. Because journal writing process, it took them preparing them with mentor text. They also provided mentor text with other books that are journal pieces. So I think the unit planning was key for what were they trying to accomplish with the unit, and in journal writing, what were they looking for, and what were things they were going to leave for the next grade level for those students. But also having a plan, planned out what was the standard, the plan. The next lesson I observed was a PE lesson, and this was by Tracy Cook. And she was teaching circuit skills, which circuit skills is tough to pick up for students. But she was teaching it was again a 3rd grade class, and it's tough to pick up for kids. Again, it's coordination, and they're still trying to find their way. But what Tracy told me in that class was, she said, for elementary students especially, be prepared. She had a layout for all the equipment that she needed before they even came into class. And when they came into class, it was already there, and she sat them down where her rules and procedures really made it effective. But her technique was, I do it, we do it, you do it. And she stood up there in class, and she went through the steps, and the students at the end of it really felt prepared. They felt that, okay, I've seen this, I've tried this, you helped me with it, and now I'm doing it together. So they're allowed to explore, but they felt prepared. And unit planning for that is really key, because for PE, the step-by-step nature where skills grow upon skills. And speaking with Tracy, she told me that plan that way ahead of time. You just can't rush it. And every class has developmental needs, and so by third grade, she can hand them more responsibility, and at the end, they know what their assessment they're working towards. So the assessment for that group was a performance, a two-person performance with a circuit skill of their choice. And they were allowed to practice with all different circuit skills, but at the end, they knew they had to choose one and have a performance. And then the last class I observed was by Paige Venturino, and Paige had it's a kindergarten class, and she was going through centers. And in kindergarten they do it a little differently. They were going through language art skills, but it's centers for the little kids. And so the things that made it great center-led class, kids are allowed to explore. And they had a rotation. There was one rotation where they had the seesaw. So parents were allowed, for the innovation, they were allowed to, see what their child was doing. As they built patterns and they built structures. They had games. They had reading comprehension games. They had word building. And there was a teacher at every different station. And so the teacher at the station was allowed to give them room to grow, but also be there where if they needed focus. And the students really responded to that. I think the fact that Paige explained it well before, and it was one of their routines where this was a regular centers they had. They did centers every week. And so the kids knew where the students knew where to go and where they were directed, and there was no ambiguity, and they knew what was coming up. And then the unit planning process in general, through this unit, what I've learned is that the plan, having a well laid out plan, is great, but knowing how to structure it, knowing how to use the backwards planning, as far as knowing that, okay, this is my standard. What do I want? How do I envision at the end of this all my students accomplishing the standards? What is the assessment I can give, a summative that I can give that will show me that I've done my job? And so knowing those two things, you know start point, you know the end point. In between, you're trying to know how best to accomplish that goal. So it creates a more organic experience, I believe. I know for me personally, it taught me a lot, where just creating an organic experience where I'm like, okay, this will teach them, but will this teach them well enough going through my lessons, trying to accomplish my objective and trying to meet that summative? My lessons became a lot more detailed. I really had to think about the little things, and I think I came up with a good product at the end, and knowing that the lessons in between is the journey that the kids have to go through to get to where they're going. And they might not be finished products, but at least they've gone through these steps where, building upon the next year, they would have gone and had those experiences. So it just made me, the unit planning process made me really just think about my lesson, from lesson to lesson, building upon it, and what do the students need to accomplish their goal. And even, again, I teach middle school, but going and seeing these other classes, knowing that the process doesn't change, you're still trying to accomplish a goal and reach a goal, that no matter what the age group, the process is the same, as far as trying to mold them into a product that is carefully crafted. So thank you very much, and that's all.